Hey everyone, my name is Jeffrey McCulley. I'm the FabLab Coordinator at the UTA FabLab, and today we're going to be learning how to do some 3D modeling. The program that we are going to use is called Tinkercad, and that is a free-to-use program that is available in your browser, so you don't have to download anything to use it. It's also optimized for 3D printing, although you can make files for other purposes as well. So let's go ahead and get started. First, you'll go to the website, which is www.tinkercad.com, and you'll see this page here. You can either sign in if you already have an account or click Join Now. Whenever you click to join, you'll have a few options. Generally, I would recommend creating a personal account unless you are with a class specifically or you are a teacher. So I'm going to go ahead and sign into my account. You'll see there are a number of options for you to sign in with, including a couple more down here. I'm going to go ahead and sign in with Facebook, just because that's where I set up my account initially, and it probably already remembers my information. Yes. So, there are some integrated tutorials with Tinkercad that are good to go through, but for our purposes, I'm just going to give a brief introduction for the program. So we're going to create a new design. All right. So this is the program right here. You see there's a bunch of different buttons off to the side and top, and over here on the right as well as some information down here. I'm just going to briefly go over all of these areas and give a basic introduction of kind of some of the key features of the program. So first of all, we have our shapes window, which is over here to the right. You'll see a number of different shapes. You can scroll down and pick any of these. We'll go ahead and start with a box. In order to make a shape, you just left click and drag it onto the work plane. So this is the work plane, this big blue square with all these grid lines. This is kind of the ground, for lack of a better term. This is where all of the things you make are going to come in touching when you first create them. So you can see that they just intersect with the work plane there. So whenever you create an object, you can go ahead and click on it, and you can see these little shapes around it, the white and black squares, as well as this little cone. These are called handles, and they allow you to change the size of your object. You can just left click and drag them up and down, left and right, to change those dimensions. There are also these little double arrows. And the double arrows that are curved allow you to rotate the object along that axis. This cone here at the top allows you to raise and lower the object. So you see, as we were rotating the object, it kind of went down below the pane, the work plane rather. And so we can just raise it up. We can see with this little indicator right here how close it is to the work plane. So at 0, we know that it is right on top of the work plane. So on the right in your shape window, you also have a bunch of other shapes besides the box. You've got spheres and cones and text as well. Text is pretty neat. You can just bring it out into the place and type whatever you want, and it immediately creates that text. So that's a pretty neat feature. There are also these whole objects, which are very useful, and I will cover them a little bit more in detail later. Okay, the next thing I'm going to cover for this introduction is the camera control window. So on the left, we have our camera controls. These allow us to change what we're looking at. You'll notice as I was creating and moving the object around before, I was rotating around with the camera. So an easy way to do that, which is what I was doing, was to hold right click and then move the mouse. That'll let you rotate the camera around your view. You can also hold the center mouse wheel, and that'll let you pan the view around. You can do the rotation as well with this little cube in the top left corner, and also just click certain spots on the cube in order to specifically look at those sides of the object. This is our home button, and that resets the view to the home location, just kind of the generic start point for the camera, which can be useful if you kind of get lost while you're creating an object. This is fit all in view. So if I had multiple objects, I would be able to select all of the ones that I wanted to be in the view, and then use fit all in view, and it'll focus the camera on just those objects. However, if I select all of them, it'll then move the camera so that it selects all of them like that. We have zoom in and zoom out. You can also use your mouse wheel to do that. And then we have what is called switch to flat view or orthographic, and that's more of an advanced feature that I'll talk about in a later video. The next thing I'm going to talk about is just kind of these common controls up here in the top left. These are pretty common commands that most programs will have. This is copy, so you can either click copy or, as it says there, click Control+C, and that will copy the object you currently have selected. You can then paste the object, or Control-V. You can then duplicate an object, which is basically copy and pasting the object in the same place that the initial object is in. So if I duplicate this object, then you'll see that there are now two of them in that space. Delete, pretty standard. Delete the object. Undo lets you undo the action you just did, and redo lets you redo the action you just did. Pretty standard stuff. Now I'm going to be talking about these object commands, which are in the top right over here. You can see there's a little light bulb, as well as group, ungroup, and then align and mirror. We're going to be talking about these three in this video. So the light bulb is used to show all hidden objects. If I was working on a very complicated piece and there were some things that were just kind of getting in the way, but I didn't want to delete them, I could go in and this little window pops up for my shape. You'll see it has the color, as well as I can increase the size if I want. Some of the objects will have that feature. And I can make it a whole object, but for our purposes, I'm going to hide it. Whenever I've hidden an object, I can't interact with it anymore, and the only way to get it back is to click this light bulb, show all. That'll show all the objects that I've hidden over the course of the scene. The next command we're going to be talking about is the group command. So for example, if I wanted to make a little house, I could take a couple of pieces and combine them together to give kind of a more realistic, solid structure for my house. Could increase the size there. In that instance, I held the Shift key, and that will scale the entire object larger or smaller uniformly, which means there's no distortion. It's not going to, the same proportions are going to remain as I scale it. So let's make that our roof. I'm now going to drag it over near the base of the house and then raise it up. So you can try and line it up right there. Shorten that a bit. There we go. We can now use the group tool to combine those two objects into one. And so now that's useful for a number of reasons, only having to select this one object and also doing some more complex maneuvers with whole objects. It's useful to have a grouped object instead of a bunch of individual objects. As part of the grouping objects, you can also group what are called whole objects, which are normal objects, solid as it says here, with what are called whole objects. Whole objects are essentially the absence of an object, and if you intersect a whole object with a solid object, then it creates a hole in the solid object where the two intersect. So to explain that, I've created to make it like a little door here. I'm going to have the whole object intersect just a little bit, and now I'm going to group them together. There we go. So you can see that I've now have a little indentation here, and we could call that a door for our house. You can do that with any of these objects, not just these two cylinder and box here. You can create any object, including text, drag it out here, and have it become a whole object that'll then intersect and delete portions of other objects. The last command for this section is the ungroup function, and that is just the opposite of grouping. So if you need to either make a change or you decide you no longer want these things to be grouped together, I could click ungroup, and that will undo the last grouping action that I did. I can then ungroup again, and that'll separate the roof once again. Oops. Using the group and ungroup functions, as well as whole objects and the solid objects, can allow you to do a lot of really interesting things. And this is one of the features about Tinkercad that is actually very, very useful. It's a lot easier to do this sort of thing in Tinkercad than it is in even a lot of other programs that you might have to pay a lot of money for. And is one of the reasons that Tinkercad is very user-friendly, is that is a very simple thing in this program, but can be very, very complicated in other programs that are popular to use. So the last feature that I'm going to talk about today for this video is how to download your file for 3D printing or for whatever purpose you'd like. So if I was happy with this file here for my little house, I could rename it. As you can see, I've already named it up here. The way you do that is you just go to the name in the top left corner. Generally, there's a randomly generated name for the file that Tinkercad has made. You can either leave it like that, which is honestly what I usually do because I think they're kind of funny, or you can rename it to whatever you'd like. Once you're done naming it, you hit enter, and now it's named. After that, you'll go over to the right and you'll click on export. Whenever you click export, you'll see there's a menu that pops up. You can click OBJ, STL, or GLTF. I'm not sure what GLTF is, but OBJ is kind of a general standard 3D model file. If you're not going to 3D print it, it's okay to download it as an OBJ. It's a pretty standard file format. But for 3D printing, we always do STL. You'll see there's another option for laser cutting here with SVG. That's more of an advanced thing that I'll talk about later. So we're going to go with STL. You'll see it's downloading. It's giving me the file name, so I can save that file. And there I go. Now I can take that file and I can bring it with me on a flash drive or email it to myself, and then I can take it to a place to get it 3D printed or whatever I want to do with that file. That is pretty much everything that I have for this introductory Tinkercad video. I'm going to be following up this video with a advanced video where I'm going to go over some of the less often utilized features of Tinkercad and ones that can allow you to increase your proficiency and create better, more unique models, as well as more specific adjustments whenever you're trying to make things. So, thank you very much for watching this. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask in the comments below. Also, if you have a specific concern and you're using this program and you're not able to figure out how to do something, or you would like assistance from an individual on a one-on-one basis, you can book a consultation with our FabLab employees. We have what's called the FACE consultation services. They are the FabLab alternate consultation experience, and we offer that through our website. So I will post information on that down below, and we would love if you utilize those services because we want to be able to help you work on your projects. So, have a great day, everybody. Thanks again.